So I started my master's in 2004, I believe, in cognitive inhibition, which is like the stopping or the delaying of a natural response. Right. So in our everyday life, we have loads of targets or things that we are trying to respond to or react to, and then we have, distractors or things that we're trying to avoid or irrelevant stimuli. So I dealt with the process of overriding and stopping the response to the distractors. I actually transitioned from my master's into my PhD, where I rolled into the PhD instead of defending the master's. I did that, I think it was about 2005, so it was about a year in. I was fortunate enough to get involved in a great study when I first came in, and I had a couple first author publications, which allowed me to defend something at the master level and then roll into the PhD. So I did that. So I continued my PhD studies at Western in kinesiology in that like cognitive inhibition and reaction time, attention control vein. And then when I was done that, so I defended my doctoral work, it would have been 2009, in the summer of 2009. And at that point, for some time before that, I was thinking about career options and where I wanted this to go. I thought about some hospital jobs. I even interviewed just to see, like, was it a fit? Do I like this? I thought about teaching, sort of rolled around in my mind there. I did teach one course during my, team taught one course during my PhD, which was a great experience. And then I also thought about postdocs, and I thought, where do I want to go? And at that point, I still was thinking, the research path was where I wanted to be, but industry was kind of floating in my mind as well. So I wanted to take my skills, my research skills, and apply it to more of a behavioral environment, and working with people and helping people less on a cognitive level and more on like an action or behavior level. So this is where I found my next passion, and I was working in behavior change, and it was the stopping and overriding, but using strategies and making it real life is what it more felt like, and changing behavior. So I did that, and I was fortunate to earn a postdoctoral position in the fall of 2009. So I had a wonderful postdoc experience. It was fabulous. I was involved in loads of research. I was able to connect with new colleagues. I still had some of the same colleagues from my doctoral experience, and then I also went into more of the applied in the hospital realm. I did tons of different projects, heart and stroke and the Canadian Cancer Society, all over the place. And I also had the opportunity to teach at Western, and I taught 3 courses in my last year of my postdoc. And they were, I was the only teacher, so it wasn't team taught. I had my own teaching assistant and my own classroom. The courses were actually brand new, which was also awesome. So I was given a course title and said, go. So I designed courses, designed all the evaluations, and I loved it. I was like, wow, I have a lot to learn in this, but I'm pretty good at it. Like I can do this. And then, obviously I learned tons from my students and from myself and self-reflection. And I thought, I think this is where I want to go. And I still love research, and I still loved research. So I didn't want to ever let that go. But I wanted to, turn my focus into like more of like a mentorship and a teaching role. So then this job at Fanshawe College came up in 2012, January 2012. And I applied, and it was right up my alley. The course load they were looking for were very similar to the courses that I just developed. And I did a demonstration teach, but it was fabulous because it was straight from a lecture that I had done in my postdoc. So the transition was, it seemed smooth at that time. Okay, so my day now, it looks much different than when I first started. So when I first started, I will say that taking on a teaching role, it was a huge adjustment, where I was so used to to the environment of research where I had days to spend like thinking and reading and writing and really, you know, gathering thoughts. And teaching, I don't want to say it was like a sidebar to that, but it you know, it was like, that was my first priority, was publishing and getting involved in research. And then when I, you know, transitioned into this role, I was given, you know, 4 classes, which I thought, oh, okay, you know, that's one more than I'm currently handling. But obviously, once I started, I realized that the scope was much bigger. It was way more responsibility, was huge. It was all on me, and it was like predominantly teaching was what it was supposed to do. So I spent loads of time with that, but I still had all these studies from my postdoc that I didn't want to let go of or you know, let die. So I was working really hard on that as well. And you know, in hindsight, I probably could have handled that better than I did, but I you know, worked through it and managed to do that. So now, moving forward, flash forward a few years, I'm a child, I actually applied to, and I earned the position of the coordinator role. So now I am responsible for, you know, organizing, you know, all the non-full-time faculty teachers in our program, making sure that our program meets the learning objectives and we're not overlapping, but we're reinforcing enough. And then at the end, our students are prepared for the skill set of the job. So now I have more of an administrative role. I'm still teaching 2 classes. So instead of the 4 or 5 that a typical faculty member would teach, but I teach 2, and then I have this administrative role in my week. And then I've managed to carve out also some time for research. I'm not publishing nearly as much as I used to, but my goal is still, I go for 1 or 2 projects that I'm really passionate about each year. And I feel that I'm signing up for less research, but I'm really grabbing and hanging on to projects that mean the most to me. So to answer the question, what does a typical day look like? Most days I teach for about 2 hours. Then I spend time either meeting with students or, you know, sending emails to students and helping them with like future decisions and what have you. Then I'll prepare, let's say, for my teaching the next day. And then on my non-contact day, which is Wednesday right now, I spend a good chunk of time thinking and learning for my research. So it's very important that you get involved with teaching, because as far as the job interview is concerned, so the job interview usually, well, it definitely at a college level consists of doing some teaching and engaging the class, you know, in not a standard university style like lecture, where at the colleges we aim for more hands-on, more involvement from the students. So the class has, you know, multiple components to it. Lesson plans are, you know, extremely important. So having had your own class where you're able to answer these questions about, you know, what would you do if, what would you do, you know, in this scenario, you've already been in that scenario, right? So you know what you would do because you've done it or you've learned from it. So that's the first thing, is try to get involved in teaching more than a teaching assistant position. Team teaching is fine, but having your own class comes with so much more responsibility, and I think that would, you know, benefit you the most.